Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to dive into something pretty surprising, you might find anyway.
Oh.
Yeah, workplace culture in China. Specifically, how common sexual harassment seems to be over there, and what that kind of says about Chinese society more broadly.
Interesting.
Yeah, so our main source today is this really fascinating YouTube video by a guy named Anthony, who breaks down the topic, from like a psychological and sociological point of view.
Right. Well, and it is fascinating, what Anthony's friend, who's familiar with Western workplaces, he was just blown away by what's considered normal over there in China.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We're talking behaviors that'd be career-ending in a lot of Western countries.
Yeah, Anthony gives some, specific examples that really jumped out at me, like superiors just openly making these sexually suggestive jokes or, giving unwanted compliments about people's appearance.
Yeah.
Even prying into people's personal lives at work events.
Oh, wow.
And what, really got me was even when people want to criticize their boss.
Right.
They do it through this, really sexually charged lens,
Exactly, yeah. That really highlights the power dynamics at play, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's almost like sexuality is the only language they have to express dissent.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder, right? Are these just, isolated incidents? Or is there something deeper, something more systemic going on?
Well, that's where Anthony's analysis of these breaking the ice activities gets really interesting.
Right.
They're supposed to be team building.
Yeah, team building.
But they often turn into these humiliating or offensive exercises, especially for women.
Oh, yeah. I was shocked by that Alibaba marriage meeting he described.
Oh, yeah.
New employees, pressured to reveal intimate details about their sex lives.
Right.
Yeah, and perform embarrassing acts. It's hard to believe,
Yeah.
And what's worse, it seems like it's spread to other companies, emulating Alibaba's success, know?
It's like there's this whole set of unwritten rules, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everyone's expected to follow, even if they contradict the official policies.
You've hit on a key point, hidden rules, right? These unspoken practices and power dynamics that often clash with what's officially acceptable.
Yeah.
And you know what? Think about it. You probably encounter hidden rules in your own life.
Probably.
Maybe it's the unspoken dress code at work.
No.
Or how you're supposed to, address your boss in emails. It's these hidden rules. They often reveal the true power structure of a group,
That makes a lot of sense. So how do these hidden rules, how do they play into sexual harassment in Chinese workplaces?
Well, Anthony uses this concept from the philosopher Slavoj Žižek called the obscene supplement.
Oh.
Now, bear with me. Žižek is known for being, how do I put it?
Dense.
Dense, yes, thank you. But the idea is actually pretty simple. So he argues that sometimes unofficial, even transgressive acts are necessary to maintain the official order.
Huh.
It's like a pressure valve. You know what I mean?
Okay, I think I'm starting to get it. So basically, what's happening behind closed doors, it might seem, contradictory to the public image.
Right.
But they actually work together to keep the whole system stable.
Yes.
It's like having a super strict dress code.
Okay.
And then everybody goes wild at the office holiday party.
Exactly. Perfect example. And Anthony illustrates this with those Chinese war dramas. Right?
Okay.
Super popular, right?
Yeah.
They often have all this sexually suggestive content, even though censorship is, super strict in China.
Right.
So these seemingly opposite things, they coexist. Right.
Yeah.
And they reinforce each other.
Interesting.
The suggestive content provides a controlled outlet for desires that are, otherwise repressed.
Wow, that's a really interesting way to look at it.
It is.
It makes you wonder, is this tolerance of sexual harassment in the workplace, another example of this, obscene supplement at work, is it somehow serving to maintain a certain social order?
That's a great question, and it leads us to another crucial piece of the puzzle, male privilege.
So how does male privilege fit into this whole picture?
Anthony argues that male privilege in Chinese workplaces, it creates this kind of unspoken bond between men, regardless of their position in the hierarchy.
It's interesting.
It's like a shared understanding that transcends all their differences,
So even if guys are competing with each other for power or promotions,
right,
they can still unite over objectifying women.
Exactly. Yeah. It's this like twisted form of camaraderie.
Wow.
The shared experience of objectifying women becomes this way to relieve tension and reinforce their sense of belonging within the group.
That's pretty bleak.
Yeah.
It's like women are just pawns in this game of, male bonding and power dynamics.
And it reinforces the idea that, women aren't seen as equal partners in the workplace. They're seen as objects to be commented on and controlled.
It's all starting to feel very interconnected. The hidden rules, the obscene supplement, male privilege.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Anthony doesn't just stop at describing the problem, though.
Right.
He actually traces, the historical roots of this workplace culture.
Yes, and this is where it gets really fascinating. He argues that the development of Chinese businesses, it was directly influenced by leaders like Mao Zedong.
Yeah.
His leadership style, it really shaped the way a lot of successful Chinese entrepreneurs think and operate today.
Okay, so for our listeners who don't know, Mao Zedong led the Communist Revolution in China.
Right.
How does that connect to modern workplaces?
Well, Anthony points out that Mao's leadership style, it really emphasized loyalty, obedience, and results above all else.
Okay.
This created what he calls a grassroots culture that became deeply ingrained in Chinese business practices.
So it's less about, following strict rules and more about just getting things done no matter what.
Exactly. And this mentality often disregards, formal procedures, ethical considerations, and even basic human concerns if they stand in the way of achieving immediate results.
So can you give us some, concrete examples of how this grassroots culture plays out in a Chinese workplace?
So think about it this way.
Okay.
Imagine a company that prioritizes meeting deadlines.
Right.
Above everything else, right? Employees might be pressured to work incredibly long hours, even if it means sacrificing their personal lives, right?
Right.
Or, let's say a problem arises, the focus might be on finding a quick fix.
Okay.
Rather than addressing the root cause,
Yeah.
Even if that quick fix involves cutting corners or bending the rules.
So basically, the ends justify the means.
Exactly.
Even if those means involve some pretty questionable behavior.
You got it. And that brings us back to sexual harassment. In this kind of environment where results are everything and rules are, flexible,
right?
It's not surprising that sexually inappropriate behavior might be tolerated or even encouraged.
Wow.
If it's seen as contributing to the bottom line. It's like they're so focused on winning the game that they don't care who gets hurt along the way.
That's a powerful way to put it.
Yeah.
And this grassroots mentality, it contrasts really sharply with Western business culture,
right?
Which tends to be, more structured and has a greater emphasis on ethical behavior.
Right. In the West, there's usually more awareness of legal constraints.
Yeah.
And a more distanced relationship with the government compared to China.
For sure.
So we're starting to see this really complex web of factors that contribute to this pretty toxic work environment in China.
It is, yeah.
We've got these deeply ingrained societal norms, the weight of historical influences, power dynamics that silence women. It's a lot to unpack.
It really is. And it's easy to just focus on individual instances of harassment.
Right.
But Anthony's point is, we need to understand the systemic forces that allow this behavior to flourish.
Yeah.
It's not just about, a few bad apples.
Yeah.
It's about the whole orchard.
Yeah. That's a really crucial takeaway.
It is.
So what are some of the things that he highlights as being particularly influential in creating this environment?
Well, he keeps coming back to that grassroots mentality.
Okay.
The relentless emphasis on, results above all else. Creates a culture where the ends justify the means, even if those means involve exploiting or dehumanizing others.
Yes. And that seems to tie directly into the tolerance for sexual harassment.
Yeah.
It's almost like if it's not directly hindering productivity, it's not seen as a real problem.
You're right. Yeah, it becomes one of those unspoken rules of the game.
Right.
And when you combine that with, the deep-seated male privilege.
Right. We were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
It creates a really difficult and frankly dangerous environment for women to navigate.
It makes you wonder if this is something that can ever truly be challenged or changed.
Right.
Given how deeply ingrained it seems to be in the very fabric of Chinese business culture?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anthony seems to suggest that it's going to require a pretty fundamental shift in attitudes and values.
Right.
You know, it's not just about implementing new policies or having more sensitivity training sessions.
So you're saying it's not enough to just like slap a Band-Aid on the problem.
Right.
They need to address the underlying infection.
Exactly. Yeah, it's about addressing those deep-seated cultural norms that make this behavior seem acceptable in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a much tougher task.
Yeah.
Especially when you consider, you know, how intertwined these cultural patterns are with China's economic and social structures.
It's like a self-perpetuating cycle. Success breeds more of the same behavior, even if that same behavior includes some pretty harmful elements.
I think that's a great way to put it, yeah.
Yeah.
It highlights the fact that change, if it does come, is likely to be slow and incremental.
So where do we even begin to tackle a problem like this?
Right.
What are like the first steps towards creating a safer and more equitable work environment for women in China?
Well, awareness is a crucial first step.
Okay.
Anthony's video is a perfect example of that, right? Yeah. Shedding light on these hidden dynamics and prompting critical reflection. People need to be able to name the problem before they can start to fix it.
So we need more like open and honest conversations about this issue.
Yes.
More people willing to speak out.
Absolutely.
Against these harmful practices.
Yeah.
Even if it's uncomfortable.
It's gotta happen.
Yeah, and beyond just talking about it, like we need to see real consequences for those who engage in this kind of behavior.
That's
holding people accountable, regardless of their position or status, is essential.
It is, which might be easier said than done, given, you know, the power structures we've been discussing.
Yeah.
But it feels like a necessary starting point.
For sure.
It is, and alongside accountability, we need to see a genuine effort to promote and cultivate a more inclusive and respectful workplace culture, one that values diversity and recognizes the contributions of all employees, not just a select few.
So moving away from that boys club mentality, and creating a space where women can thrive as equals.
Precisely, and that requires a willingness to question those deeply held assumptions about gender roles and power dynamics that have been perpetuated for so long.
It's a tall order, but I think Anthony's analysis, it gives us a really helpful framework.
It does.
For understanding the complexities of this issue.
Yeah.
You know, it's not about like pointing fingers at individuals.
Right.
It's about examining, you know, a system that needs serious reevaluation.
I agree, and it's a conversation that needs to happen, not just within China, but globally.
Yeah.
You know, we need to be having these tough conversations about workplace culture everywhere. And making sure that everyone feels safe and respected.
Well said.
A question worth pondering indeed, as we've been discussing this intricate web, you know, of historical, social, economic factors. They all contribute to the current situation in China. It's not a simple problem. There's no easy solution.
It feels like unraveling one thread could like have unintended consequences for the whole tapestry.
Exactly. And that makes it even more important to approach this issue with nuance, right? With a deep understanding of the context change. Change won't happen overnight.
Yeah.
And it'll likely require a multifaceted approach.
So what might that multifaceted approach, what might that look like? Where do we even start?
Well, first and foremost, we need to challenge these long-standing power structures that allow these behaviors to persist, right?
Yeah.
Think about it. If people in positions of authority, you know, they continue to engage in or condone sexual harassment, it sends a message that it's acceptable, right? We need to see real accountability, not just lip service to new policies.
So consequences for those in power.
Yes.
Not just entry-level employees.
Precisely, yeah. And along with that, you know, there needs to be a conscious effort to empower women, amplify their voices. This could mean providing more leadership opportunities, creating mentorship programs, and encouraging women to, you know, to speak up without fear of retribution.
So creating a culture where women feel safe speaking out.
Yes.
And know that they'll be heard and supported.
Exactly. And remember, it's not just about, women helping women,
right,
men have a crucial role to play in this transformation as well.
How so?
Well, they need to be active allies, right? Challenging their own biases, calling out inappropriate behavior when they see it, and advocating for a more inclusive workplace culture.
So a collective effort to dismantle those deeply ingrained cultural norms.
Yes, absolutely. It's about challenging the status quo, right? And working towards a future where everyone feels respected and valued regardless of their gender.
It might seem daunting.
It is.
But change is possible.
Oh, absolutely.
Look at how far we've come in addressing other social issues.
That's right. Things that were once considered acceptable are now widely condemned, So there's hope. There's hope that we can see a similar shift when it comes to sexual harassment in the workplace.
There is. And I think that's the most important takeaway from this deep dive. It's easy to get overwhelmed by the complexity of the issue.
It is, yeah.
But we shouldn't lose sight of the fact that we can all be agents of change.
Absolutely.
And the change can start with something as simple as having these conversations, raising awareness, and challenging our own assumptions.
Well said. Even small actions, can contribute to creating a more equitable and just world, both within China and beyond.
I think that's a perfect note to end on.
I agree.
This deep dive has given us a lot to think about.
It has.
And hopefully it's sparked some important conversations for you as well, listening out there.
I agree.
Thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you.
On this deep dive. Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and keep pushing for positive change.